Ladies and gentlemen, the future is here. We finally have a smartphone that can read your fingerprint underneath the screen. You want to know more? Let's find out. It's time for Unboxed Daily. Welcome to Unboxed Daily. I'm your host, Jason, and as always, a pleasure to see your smiling face. Today, we're taking a look at the Vivo X20 Plus UD. Now, this is a smartphone that was released at CES this year, and while it's not necessarily the fastest or the best screen or the most processing power, it does have one unique feature that all other smartphones don't have: the ability to read your fingerprint underneath the screen. And we're going to show you a little bit more about this phone today, but if you want to check out other shows we've produced, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and if you really feel like you want to give us some generosity, hit the bell as well. So Vivo's X20 phone, I have to say right out of the gate, it's not the strongest phone you're going to find out there. It's rocking a previous generation Snapdragon processor. It's got low RAM. It's not fast, but this is not what it's intended to be. It's instead a low-cost Android smartphone coming out of China that's making its introduction here in the US. And the big deciding factor about whether you want it or not is this magical ability to read your fingerprint underneath the screen. That means you don't have a home button on the front, you don't have to reach around like other phones and press your thumb on the back. You have the ability to just press on the screen and unlock your phone. Here to give us an overview and just a basic understanding of how the technology works are the folks at Gadget Match, who back at CES got a first-hand look at this brand new phone.
I think all of us have kind of wanted a fingerprint sensor underneath the display. This is a new Vivo phone, yet to be released. It may or may not look like this, but the more important part is that the fingerprint sensor is now built into or underneath the display. Let's take a look.
Let's start by giving credit where credit is due. This technology is made possible by Synaptics. They also make fingerprint sensors for smartphones. Vivo invested into the R&D to make this possible and be the first to market.
Okay, so this technology is conceptually cool, no question about it. But you know, there's a lot more application here than you might think initially. Another product reviewer who got to take a first-hand look at this phone at CES was Mr. Mobile, who's not only excited about this particular application of the technology, but what else you can do with a fingerprint reader under a screen in future generations of technology.
It sees your thumb or finger through the spaces between the pixels of an OLED display and uses the display itself for illumination. That fancy bit of engineering lets the sensor hide beneath the glass and the display layer itself, which lets manufacturers build a huge screen into a phone without saving bezel space for a fingerprint sensor, or putting it around back and sacrificing battery size or other components. Now, because the sensor is almost invisible, the software projects a graphical cue onto the area of the screen where your finger goes.
This is a really cool concept, right? I mean, hopefully eventually we could build a system where it doesn't actually matter where you place your thumb on the screen, it would read it for you automatically. But combined with Face ID, this could provide a really interesting two-factor authentication for people who want to unlock their phones and keep them secure when they're not in use. Now, to be fair, this is the first generation of this particular kind of fingerprinting technology, so it doesn't work perfectly. And that's okay, it doesn't have to. The point is to be a proof of concept. Here to tell us more and his ideas on where this technology might go in the future is Marques Brownlee, who, though not exactly loving the first iteration of this technology, does feel pretty bullish about it overall.
I mean, the sensor's out there now, it's in this Vivo phone, but like I said, it's a bit slow, so the big manufacturers, the LGs and Apples and Samsungs of the world, aren't gonna put this first gen product in their phone. But I could see even as early as next year, us having a much better, much more refined version of this start to show up in phones a lot more often. So I'm looking forward to that.
I think it's cool, and I think Marques is absolutely right. There's a lot of opportunities to grow this in the future. But the one limitation I think of, more so than the technology, is further adoption. And I'm gonna make a prediction here and now. Until Apple decides that they wanna make this part of their smartphones, you're not gonna see mass adoption. One of the other things you have to ask about technology like this is what happens when there's interference when you place your thumb to get the fingerprint read. After all, if there's a smudge or a slight scratch, is that gonna prevent you from being able to unlock your phone? Fortunately, we've got jerry-rig everything here, telling us exactly how much damage you can do before you scratch up the reader and make it unusable, or just straight up break the phone. Really, either way.
A level 9 pick is overkill when it comes to scratching. It actually scores the glass, making cracks appear along the fracture because it's so hard, and causing so much damage. The problem is, if you watch closely as I connect the lines over the sensor and the fractures in the glass start to appear, the whole display dies. You can see a vertical green line appear and then the screen goes off, never to come back on again. I'm going to assume this was my fault, since we can see the first display line start at the point of crackage. But that's also right over the fingerprint scan.
Okay, so it turns out that the risk isn't your inability to unlock the phone so much as straight up breaking the phone. Good to know. And that's it for our look at the Vivo X20 Plus UD. What do you think? Worthwhile, or maybe you're going to give it a generation or two? Either way, if you want to check out more, head on over to Unboxed.tv or look us up on the iOS store. In the meantime, we'll be back soon with more great product unboxing videos and reviews for your happy consumption. I'm your host, Jason. Have a great day.